Cat TV is celebrating 30 years of community media. Help support Cat TV's next 30 years by becoming a member today. Your membership will help us continue covering meaningful, local content. Thank you for supporting your local community media station.
Of this committee, it's been around for a couple of years now. It's been in and then out, off, and then back. We did have a vote last November, I believe, and we did not pass the bond that was being voted on then, and so we regrouped, and we're going to just kind of fill in the committee today, and anybody else who's listening with where we're at. So members of the committee that are here, myself, Tony D'Onofrio is here, Chad Gordon is here, and I did hear from Paul Reef, who is not going to be president, but is still interested in what happens as far as information goes. And Lori Gratton is another member of the committee who's not going to be present today with the chairman as well. But so the committee will officially kind of get started. I did invite, or I did kind of like have some conversations with people, and Pete Janellis is here to kind of talk us through some information that he's been gathering as a interested citizen. I know he did some work on the field over the summer to get it back into playing order, because I know last year by the end of the fall we were not able to play soccer, and it was difficult for football with some of the holes and ruts. So Pete did a great job of getting the field back in temporary kind of playing condition, but so I invited him here to kind of talk with the committee and present some information to us. So Pete, I'm going to throw it to you.
Okay. So as you know, our whole passion, my goal is to transform Spinelli into an artificial turf field, and I've been taking care of ball fields and sports field management now since 2008, and I have a lot of equipment. I have built up a lot of know-how. The problem here with our fields is that there's not enough manpower. We don't do it really very well. I'm not dissing anybody, but you have to aerate fields 4 times a year. You have to overseed. You have to fertilize. You basically have to tend these grass fields with a lot more TLC than we've been doing for years. I personally have donated a lot of time myself because I just love to do it, and I consider myself an alumnus, community member, and really someone who's passionate about this kind of stuff. And my argument was always, you got to have the fields looking good so that we all have, it just presents the school in a much better light, much more professional way, a much more inviting way. Athletes with good fields feel better. It's not just athletes. The fields have been used by other community, groups. With an artificial turf field, you will be able to use it year-round, and the maintenance part of it will be pretty much eliminated. You will have to do something weekly with a machine to kind of fluff up the infill, and disinfect. But that's just driving a tractor and a machine over it. The machine, probably the cost of that is somewhere around $25,000. So what I've done is I've done research. I've contacted the sources, people who build the fields. One company is called the Clark Company. They are from Delhi, New York. They are a 3-generation family-owned sports management business, sports field reconstruction business. The main contact is Jim Capella. We brought him here to Mount Anthony Spinelli Field December 21st of 2021. He went through the project, and so what he put together, so we're all on the same page, is he put in a fix for the track, which would be to repair the depressions, I think there's 3 or 4 of them, and resurface the track, totally take out the inside the oval of the track and totally remove it, remove the sod, the soil, and rebuild it with an artificial turf field, multi-purpose, multi-use for soccer, lacrosse, football, any sport, field hockey, and then it would be the accessories of the track areas, the high jump, the long jump, pole vault areas, and then also to replace the lights, which would be 300 candle lights. His original quote was for 500 candle lights, and that's about $200,000 more. So we don't need those. 300 candle lights are sufficient for lacrosse and all the small ball sports. So he gave us a quote at that time to do all of that. That would be moving the bleachers, the visitor side bleachers, outside the track fence. And that was it. So no buildings, no other bathrooms or anything like that. And the cost of that project at that time was $1.9 million. And the kicker here was that they explained to us how there's 3 ways to fund fields. 1, through bonding, which we tried. 2, privately. And then 3, through their artificial turf field company called Field Turf, who offers what they call a cooperative leasing program. And there's another name for it, I don't have the exact name. The plan is to bring in their representative to talk more in the future. I have an email from him today to outline the benefits of the project. But he said last year in Vermont, he put in 3 fields for field turf in Vermont. 2 of them were private projects. 1 of them was this, what they call public project. So this cooperative leasing program, it requires, it's a way for the school district to finance this through the company over 8 years. So if you take 1.9 million currently right now would be a number that we're working with, and divide it by 8, it comes out to be $237,400 a year for 8 years. And that is something that could be easily financed through our school budget. If you look at our total budget, I think it's about $25 million. If you take $237,400 and divide it by 24 million, I think it comes out to about 0.05% of the annual budget. So that is where we stand as far as the financial part. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to read quickly the email that recently I had communicated with. So does anybody have any questions so far?
I have a question.
Okay, Dave's asking a question first, Jackie, and then we'll go to you. So, Dave.
My question is how do you reconcile the fact that
Hold on, please, Jackie, because Dave is asking a question first here.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear that.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, what I understand is that it's not wide enough for streets. You have to have 8 lanes. And I haven't really dove into yet, but we should. And then the way I understood it is that it's currently not up to state policy.
Right. I do know they expect 8 lanes in a big track meet is what they need. And so we only have 6 lanes on.
I did talk to Andrew Dijak from Field Care. He said, well, that could be accomplished, but that would add about $250,000 to the project.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think about it, that's not a huge number. And this number is a very doable number. So that would require moving the home bleachers back because you can't, yeah, and then you widen the track that way.
I'm having a hard time hearing. I don't think I heard David's question, and I can't tell if it was answered or not.
Sorry, so Dave's talking quietly. I will talk loudly for you. He was asking,
Thank you.
yeah, he was asking about the track and saying that the track is not regulation because it only has 6 lanes, not 8 lanes. And Peter responded, yes, he understands that, and that's something that we could discuss in future. It would add another $250,000 possibly to the project to widen the track. So that was the discussion that we're having right now. And now Dave has a follow-up question.
Hey, we stay with 6 if our lanes are wide enough.
Yes.
For running track.
Right. Okay, the other. That's leaving out. That's the purpose. I know money can't buy some stuff.
Yeah.
The park company built that facility under a private donor.
Yeah. But I'm also talking to Thompson and all.
Are you talking about the track itself, or are you talking the track that they just put in? Yeah.
Yeah. So that track is built by Clark.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I'm done.
All right. Jackie, we are to you. You were next to say you had a question or a comment.
Yes, I do. My question.
I didn't, wait, before Jackie goes, I didn't hear Dave's follow-up question and answer.
Oh, so all that Dave said was he was up at Fern Burton at a track meet Special Olympics and is saying that they are doing their facilities and much better, and it looks like we're in a state of poverty down here. So that his commentary was just that they are spending money on their facilities.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Jackie.
So my question or statement or whatever you'd like to call it is almost the same as what Dave just said. And our town is in poverty. I mean, every time you look, it's poverty. So how do we justify what our town is and how much our town can afford? And the fact that they turned down the bond because they knew they couldn't afford this. And then we go right ahead and continue to plan like the town didn't have a voice in it. How do you reconcile this?
Yeah, Peter.
So Jackie, yeah, I went around and talked to a lot of people from the town. Okay, and I was born and raised here, as you know. I know quite a few people. So I go to places like the Buck Stop, and I talk to all the regular boys and girls in the town. And the biggest problem was the $3.5 million bond that was created by MSK and that whole situation was grossly overpriced, and everyone recognized it and said that's a bunch of bunk, and they voted it down because they should have voted it down. Okay, because we really can't afford that. This project is completely different. You know, that was a bond that goes out to taxpayers. This is different. This is a 8-year lease program in a budget of $24 to $25 million. And I'm sorry to say, I've heard all the stories of the waste in this budget. So a $230,000 to $250,000 a year for 8 years is very doable, and it's not going to affect the tax base of the town. I've spoke to a lot of people, and they said, oh, well, that's all it is? Then certainly we're for it. Yeah. I mean, Fran's shaking his head over here.
I'm laughing at that, but go ahead. I want you to finish because I have some questions. But go ahead.
Sure. Well, I've done my research. I've talked to a lot of people, and basically, my question would be then, if you think that's grossly overpriced and you don't think that's manageable in a $24 million budget, then, you know, after running a business in this town and living here, and my parents running a restaurant in this town for years, I would say there's an awful lot of waste going on. This a very important project for this town. So that's how I would, respond to that.
Hold on, Jackie, do you have, you?
Oh, yes, I'll give up my floor to Fran. Go ahead, Fran.
I'm looking at different things. I know everybody's stuck on this turf field thing. I get it. I really do. Obviously, I would rather see a donor donate the money to do this field and not put it in our budget. We have more important things that's going to benefit all the students of both schools, middle school and high school, by putting air conditioning in. That sounds silly, but I tell you, if you go up on the second floor of the new middle school, I can tell you, you're going to cook. Those kids don't learn a damn thing up there. And the kids don't learn a damn thing here when it's so hot out. You can't see. Those kids aren't learning anything in those rooms. And I've been in the buildings at that point. If you can find a donor, now I look at everything in Bennington. I was born and raised around here too. And, you look at the Putnam block. They ran out of money for that. I don't know what the specs are. I don't pay attention to that. They want to do the old middle school. I don't know where the hell they think they're going to get all this money. And when Peter says, well, 237K, it's manageable, it probably is. But what's going to happen when the shit hits the fan, when this school is going to come, we're going to have some major projects here. And it's going to come. So if I had my druthers, I say the hell with the turf field. And I'm sorry if I'm trying to be nice about it, but people are struggling in this town now. Everybody says, oh, the taxes are down. Well, I don't know who the hell's taxes are down, because mine sure aren't. You got inflation, people are gone nuts here spending money in this country. If there's another way to do this turf field, I suggest we look at that. And anyway, that's all I have to say at this point.
So this is another way to do
I get it.
It's not a bond. So you're saying, is there another way? Well, we're presenting.
Well, but it's still $237,000 a year out of our school budget. I do get it. Now, I'm wondering, questions I had before this meeting, when the last meeting I was at, when we were sitting over there, what happens when this field is done with the use of it? What happens to it? How much does it cost us to get it out of here? What happens with that field? And also another question.
You get it out.
Well, it's what? It's a 10-year?
It's a 15-year.
All right, 15-year field. What happens when we get that out of
the carpet and replace it? It's a fraction of what.
But how do you get rid of it though? Is there a?
The company can answer that question. They have ways of doing it. They do that all the time. I don't know exactly what you're asking where it's going to go.
Well, I can remember years ago, and you probably do, Peter, is we had a bunch of dirt here over at the carbon and stuff. We had to have it shipped to New Jersey. Cost, I don't know how many millions of dollars to do that, to burn the, you know what I mean?
It's not a toxic waste dump. It's not PFOA. That we went through that whole thing. The way I understand the PFOA debate was all about because we hadn't got our settlement yet. God forbid we accept something that could be potentially PFOA, and then we lose our settlement. Now we've got our settlement, so we're free and clear of that issue.
Okay. Other question I have is, I had a sample of what the turf field was going to be before.
Yes.
I have that sample, but I think it was you, Mike, that said there's going to be a different type of turf field.
So I don't know. Yeah, Peter knows a little more about that.
Okay.
So I've been in communication with Andrew Dijak, who is the field turf rep, and also Jim Patella, who installs all these things. He's the ultimate expert because he's a 3-generation family business who does all of the fields in the Northeast. He's done major colleges, Williams. He recently did Bowdoin Colleges, my alma mater up in Brunswick, Maine. Beautiful facilities. They put in, this turf is what they use in every major sports field. Even the New England Patriots Gillette Stadium has this turf. It's the safest turf. It's a rubber infill. It's not a pine infill. We talked about the pine infill. The pine infill has been put down at Tufts University, according to Jim Patella, and he said it was not a good choice. It's very slippery. It's very slick. It gets infected more rapidly because it's like it's pine, so it gets bacteria. He said it's more difficult to maintain. He says it's not the right choice. If you really want to do it, if you're going to do it, you do what he's proposing.
What's the turf field down at Williams College? I've seen that. I've seen them sewing it up and stuff like
It's the
that.
same stuff.
Same stuff
Pretty much.
that you're
That's what I'm
referring to.
proposing here too.
Okay, and Burton,
Same stuff.
same stuff.
Clark Company built Burns Field.
Okay.
Private company.
Right. That's,
Can I talk about if one?
Chad,
Well,
yeah.
I guess my question, where did you find this company?
Through Jim Patel, through Clark Company. This is who they were.
We can't hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, whoever's talking needs to go closer.
Okay, we'll speak up. I'll repeat it. So Chad asked, where like the company came from, where Field Turf and Clark Company, where this group has come from, and Peter's responding to that.
Okay, so I first found out about the Clark Company in 2008 when they were doing Williams College when I was coaching. And I was asked by Al Plant and Walt Commodore back then to work on the Bennington Mount Anthony baseball. So I consulted them at that time. They're from Delhi, New York, and the dirt we use on this field is the dirt that they use on all their baseball projects throughout the league. It comes from a smart stone quarries in Bechtel, Pennsylvania. So that's how I first learned about it. And then over the years, I started learning more and more about them. And it comes to find out that they are the #1 sports field construction company in all of the Northeast. They do most of the fields. You can go on their website and you can scope them out.
I appreciate your research. I don't know if they did this day.
The sound dropped off again.
Chad is just saying thank you to Peter. That was all I was saying. Thank you for your time and effort.
Can I go back to something that Fran said? Can't we raise some funds for this? Or, I mean, if people really want this, I'd like to see them have a stake in the game. And we're not Burton. We don't have multi-million dollars behind us. And we might have a budget of 24 million, but it's used so sparingly that, I hate to put more in it. And so I'd really like to see, the kids raise some money for it. They raise money for other things, and if they're really involved in it. But, I know sports is very, very important in high schools and middle schools, but and I don't favor personally turf fields. Some of the NFLs don't favor turf fields. I know that too for a fact. But if you're really going to go for this, I think the kids should have some skin in the game and raise some money.
So my response to that, Jackie, is I hear what you're saying. I think it just is kicking the can, a little bit. And we've been on this, Chad and I, like for years. This is like year 2. I will be retired from coaching before there is a field done. I can guarantee you that. And I want a field for like the community. I want something to be done. And I'm going to see it out, but I think like we're just kind of moving the goalposts, so to speak, a little bit. And I think one of the things that we talked about was, okay, the field, okay, this, maybe we wanted to add, some things like, for a new scoreboard or for a bonus thing. Maybe that's where some fundraising, can come from. Some of the extras that maybe the kids and the families want, as opposed to the 1.9, $1 million, because I don't know what, kind of fundraising, we're possibly thinking about as far as that. Tony is next up with a comment or question.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to throw my 2 cents.
Tony, can I say something?
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
No, you can go first, Tony. I'll go after you.
Okay. So, I just want to kind of answer part of Fran's question as far as air conditioning in the schools. I am 100% on board with that. From what I understand, the process has already been started. I've already met with engineers, I've already met with mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, and that money is coming from federal money. That's not coming from our budget. So I really don't think that plays a role in the decision of the turf field. I agree with Fran 100%. We need AC at the school. These kids and the staff, these teachers, the schools are used 364 days a year. And we need that. I agree 100%. Okay, the other thing is I will speak as not only the director of facilities and grounds for MAU, but I will speak as a father of an 11-year-old who's coming up in the system and loves to play sports. And we have a field that Mr. Janelle has spent a lot of time on this year, and that's the turf field. All right. We did a lot of repairs. We fixed things. We got dips out. We got decent grass. We're not regulation soccer size. We're good football. We're good right now. If this rain continues the way it is right now, we will be in the same boat, I believe, by the end of the season, because we have a natural grass field in Vermont. And I also understand that we talk about how anything we're poor right now, taxes are high. My idea is, how are we ever going to get above this and past this? We have an opportunity to put something in that can benefit the entire community, not just MAU. Maya football, all right? The Southshire soccer jamborees. I mean, things like that it's a community affair.
Relay for life.
Relay for life, right? You know, the Special Olympics, all the things that Manchester was able to do with their community that we could have here. And, you know, and I understand where we're getting it from. I'm not saying we don't look for a private donor also. Maybe we can find one. I don't know. But, you know, my idea is, okay, we're in this situation right now. I want to get out of it. I want my kids, and talking to a lot of the parents that have kids my age or a little bit older, they didn't go and vote. And the reason they didn't, it was consumed in a whole, they didn't understand. I think if we had a flat out vote right now and had everybody go just for that, I heard a lot of them that were completely for this.
So the price of this is gonna be much less than.
Exactly, and I agree from a builder's standpoint, MSK blew that out of the water. You know, we don't need that. We have an opportunity to do this now, affordable, and the right way. And have this for the community.
Let me go to Jayla, and then we'll come to Susan. Jayla, you were next.
Yeah, so, I mean,
Jayla, you're cutting out.
you know, Tony said it really well.
Jayla,
Hit on a lot of points that I wanted to hit on. Okay. Can you hear me at all? I'm gonna be in the school in like
wait for you. We'll wait for you.
4 minutes. So I'll talk when I get there.
Is, you know, maybe doing the field, then we would get events that would bring more people, more of a tax base. People would be spending money in our restaurants and
Okay?
365 days a year.
I'm gonna be there in 2 minutes.
A soccer team, you know, we could play.
They work very hard.
They work really hard. Yeah.
I'll be there in 2 minutes.
And indeed, they do.
2 minutes. I'll be there.
But Applejack was not funded by a private donor, and that stadium is beautiful. It is everything, and now it's getting bigger. We can't do this first.
Pete, Chad.
Wow, teaching freshmen again, every day, so they all have physical education. And I don't know if it's because of the weather, but the students come in, they're like, well, using the food repair, but the first block, their feet soaked, and they come to the third block and the socks are still wet, talking about how their shoes stink and they've got blisters because of the wet feet, and that wouldn't happen on a turf field. It's an outdoor classroom, and it will be dry, and everyone will use that. You see teachers walking and having classrooms up there reading. So as a teacher,
And I do think, just to follow what Chad is saying, one of the things that I've heard is like, in just conversations with Dave Maselli, who's the AD up at Burton, it becomes the meeting point. It is the spot where in the summer, in the, hey, I'll meet you at the field. Hey, you want to play some, pick up football. Hey, you want to we'll do a workout. It's the place that, it's the safe place to meet now. Nobody's going to Spinelli. Everybody stays off of that because they know, oh, let's stay off of it. But if it becomes that center hub, be a nice spot for high school, middle school kids to come. Anybody really, not even anybody in the town, play pickup, football or do whatever. So it becomes more of a center hub for things. Hey, maybe we can hear you now. So, I know. No worries.
Of our athletes and our PE classes. It doesn't benefit the whole school either. Because we got football and soccer.
Yeah, we have half my kids.
And I'm gonna bring it up again because I had a little player, they play in the Vets field, which sucks.
Yeah.
I mean.
I really can't hear you at all, Suzanne.
And they don't get the other sports teams don't get to have that same pride of playing at Spinelli because they simply can't. It's not allowed or the lighting is insufficient and it's not fair.
It's so wet.
And it's so, right, it's not, and.
When I got here, I heard that, and I said, that's absolutely.
I remember.
I said, they should be able to play, well, they would be, but they can't.
Can't,
It's so.
you can't, you gotta shovel it first before you start playing it.
So-
Right, it's just, it's terrible. And if our kids, we want to instill a sense of pride because these kids, we need to come back to Bennington as adults and work here and open their business and have their kids here and everything. And if you can't even give them football or soccer or whatever it is, why would they want to recruit people?
Chayla is here in the flesh now.
Now we can hear it.
All right, so Chayla, you were gonna.
What I was saying, yeah, I was saying that Tony said it pretty much all the points I wanted to bring up, and he said it really well. But I know the point was brought up from Jackie about fundraising if these kids really want it. But for me, these kids are owed a field that is safe. That field isn't safe. Well, right now it's safer. Last year, it was not safe. Ankles are going to be broken. ACLs are going to be torn. All the things that we need to worry about these children on. And they're owed a safe field to play on. And not only that there are situations where soccer teams can't play on the field because it has too much use.
Right.
The varsity team can't play a scrimmage on their own field because it's things like that. The varsity team should be able to play no matter what on their fields.
Yeah.
And
Can I interject on that?
yeah,
To maintain a really high use grass complex, multi-uses like you're talking about, right now, the high use will chew that field up the way it is and it will be not usable. So in order to maintain that requires year-round, full-time, basically golf course-like turf management. And I personally have donated a lot to get it to a point that I have a full-time job elsewhere. But you have to aerate 4 times a year. You have to overseed and fertilize multiple times a year. You have to oversee. You have to tend it you have to play the weather. You have to water. We don't have great watering systems.
We use the fire hydrant.
Yeah.
all summer long.
Yeah.
With a hose.
Yeah.
To water that field every day. I got permission from the lady.
So
Yeah.
We don't have a groundskeeper for our fields, like, I know Jack
So-
brought it up in the past.
So that's
and
the
We
problem.
don't have that kind of stuff.
Right, and there were arguments about, environmental and all that whole aspect, but there's trade-offs there, because yes, a turf, yes, it's plastic, understand all that. But you're also, if you have a turf field, you're not mowing and using grass, you're not using aerosol to line the
You don't have to
field.
use fertilizer.
You don't have to use fertilizers,
You don't have to mow it.
you don't have, like, all of those things, so there are
And you don't have to
trade-offs.
line it, right?
That's right, you wouldn't have to line it. So, think about how many aerosol cans are used every single time you have to line the fields. So the other question I had that I needed answering was, I know that David asked about the track being widened, but when they redo the center of the actual field with turf, will it be regulation for the boys?
Will be, yes, everything will be
Okay.
regulated for
Okay.
soccer. Yeah.
Well, that was, because
We
our
have
field
the
is
room.
not
We
regulation,
have the
so.
room in the
Okay.
grass. That's why we're taking.
But the bleachers have to be moved outside.
Right,
Move
right,
down
which
the
makes sense,
The
yeah.
room is there.
It's just not set up
For whatever
properly.
reason.
And
To
my
make it
last
good
point is, I think it was already brought up, but I couldn't hear with my travels. But not only is this beneficial for the community, for other organizations, Maya Football and Southshire and all that to use and benefit from in Relay for Life, like you were mentioning, and have a community presence and community pride, but all of those things bring people into town and bring them to restaurants and shopping. And,
Hotels.
and like, I know that like we could possibly get, some of those semi-professional teams to come here. And that would bring people coming to the hotels and restaurants and all that stuff. It benefits the,
Money into Little Park because they couldn't. Which is senseless when we have a facility that would have been better suited than Little Villa, right? It totally is better.
it's money into the community.
And it's money into the community. And I'll say it again, when I used to
Investing in
travel
our
with my
future.
daughter for lacrosse, we went to Middlebury every year before, went up through middle school, right, for high school. We went to Middlebury every single year. Every single year, we spent the weekend, be it in a hotel or a campground, but we ate in the restaurants, and that could happen every weekend throughout,
And for lacrosse, the Vets field isn't 100% safe either, for them to be playing lacrosse.
It's terrible.
So-
I can't.
I
You know,
recruited
you
you
look
to
at
fix
the-
that.
You should look at the
Oh, good.
statistics over the last, how many ACLs report on that?
One of Abby's teammates,
Yeah.
ACL, was just going on.
So if we, I want to circle back around, and throw speak specifically to the committee, and kind of see, which direction, because our committee makes recommendations to the board. I know we have Dave and Susan and Shayla on the committee as board members, but all that we can do is, make a presentation, a recommendation, to the board. The conversations I've had, I know Chad's had, conversations with people as well, that it seemed that the first vote was turned down, more so on the price, much more so on the price than on the substance of the field itself. It may have been the building that is not, being considered at this point in time, but we're now at a point where, I did heed some conversations that, some board members had, and we've waited a full year almost to kind of get going on this again. We weren't going to go right back out and have, another vote and present it again. But I think what we have here, and I'm open to the committee's kind of thoughts on it, seems to be a better plan, a better proposal for our town and our community, but still checks the boxes in terms of new lighting, a new track, and a new field. At almost half the price of the first one. It's not exactly, but it's almost like half the price. Now, that was a price, and Peter, I want to throw it back to you. That was a price point from 2021.
So I've been in contact with Andrew Dijak from Field Turf. He's the representative for the company that makes the turf. And he's also been in contact with Jim Patella, who's from the Clark Company, who they would be the contractors who would build the facility. And they sent me an email, I have some copies here. But I'd like to just read to you his bullet points on the benefits right now. And it is timely. Because of COVID and all the ridiculously of supply limitations or whatever, everything's going up in price. So let me just start by reading these bullet points. Number one, you get the best price usually, and we're talking about using the leasing program now, which is 8-year equal payments, or you can set up your own payment schedule. We were talking about that number at $237,400 a year for 8 years. That would equal $1.9 million for the total project. There's going to be some variation to that. So you get the best price by using this cooperative program, which is designed for public organizations, usually a 10% savings. You get the best price because the projects are bid out nationally and there is an economies of scale factor. You can choose whatever product you like, but what they do is they typically locally bid out their what they call their elite product line. The elite line comes from an increase in warranty, playability, and performance. Harvard, Yale, Dartmouth, Middlebury, St. Johnsbury Academy, the Patriots, UMass Amherst, UVM, and many, many more have chosen this product, and that's the one I was referring to earlier. Okay. The public projects listed all above here that I just mentioned went through the co-op, as they call it, which is this leasing program. Remember, there's 3 ways to finance. There's private, and I'd like to speak to that in a minute as well. There's public, which is this cooperative program, and there's bonding. And bonding is what we went through with MSK, and you have to go to the town, and you have to go to the taxpayers, and that's not what we're talking about here. Next, another line here, you are not going around the bidding prices. Sometimes with private projects, so the private donors, you have to go through the bidding process, which is about a 6-month-long process. This eliminates that because they have this cooperative and it suffices legalities and rules and all that sort of stuff. They are also familiar with Act 250 in Vermont. They are familiar with the permitting process in Vermont. So here's the thing. If you commit by the end of this year, the savings would be close to 35% off of what we expect for next year. We had an approximately 25% materials increase this calendar year, and we expect one next year, coupled with the 10% cooperative savings equals 35%. So that's huge. That means it's timely, we got to make a decision. Other items can be bid this way, like the track and the lights. And he's going to throw that all in. We were talking about this. It said we also own Baden Track, which is what the World Track Championships were held on. And that's why he's giving some credibility to the track. The project timeline is increased by 2 to 3 months. Regular project takes about 6 months just to get to the award stage. With the co-op, we could be building in 90 days. So the cooperative is a better way to go versus a private project is what he's getting. If you decide to commit to the project this year, you will have the opportunity to choose the best product at the lowest price with the benefits of having the world-leading sports surface systems in safety, performance, and quality. So that's good. I would also, I'm very sensitive to not increasing taxes. I hate taxes personally. And I am very sensitive to that. I believe that this project is very manageable in our big budget. It's just that you have to cut out the waste sometimes in our budget. And I know from some of the past projects, there was quite a bit of waste, middle school redo, different things. So, but I have heard that there's one individual who's hired into the system today, who's with the team, I think is Holly Anderson. And I've heard through different sources that Holly is a tremendous source for private funding. So to speak to Jackie and to speak to Fran, I'm planning on talking to her about trying to raise some private money. But the private money will take longer than this. This is actually a tremendous option and because of the COVID effect and the increases of everything, if we wait, we're gonna get screwed, so to speak. I mean, this is the time to make the decision.
I'd like to see that happen, only for the simple reason.
Yeah.
People think they got backdoored, okay,
Right.
because they voted no. Maybe it's only 1,000 or 1,200 people.
Yeah.
But it's still, you have the stigma is, well, they're gonna do it anyway.
Right.
And so you want to do everything you possibly can. If we don't have to put a lot of this through the main budget of the school, yeah, it's a $24-25 million budget. But I can tell you, I'm sure Tony knows with some of the stuff coming down the pipe, it's going to cost a hell of a lot more than 1.9 or whatever it's going to be.
Well, maybe our private donor can find some money for that. I mean, she's just not for sports fields, you know what I mean? She's,
Holly's a great resource, especially
Yeah.
when it comes to like efficiency Vermont.
yeah,
And some of those public facilities that we're closely with efficiency Vermont.
yeah,
We're already working on some projects for the school.
yeah.
That are going to be feedback. Short.
But I'm going to address that.
I do appreciate the stuff that you've been doing for the school with the fields and stuff. I know how much it costs you time-wise and everything else. But, it's Bennington, let's face it. I mean, this client says, well, people will come here. People aren't coming here. You're not coming.
Saying if it's
I get what you're
We
saying.
keep saying it's just Bennington.
Well-
If you believe it's just Bennington, it's
Well-
never gonna get any better.
I moved here.
But we want the young,
I moved here.
we want the young entrepreneurs here. They're not coming here, okay? They're not coming to the Putnam Block. If you look at the storefronts, they're empty.
No, the Putnam Block has not a single apartment available right now. Problem right now is housing. There isn't that. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
It's not, because they're not coming to Bennington.
But I understand what you're
I can tell you
saying.
through COVID how many new people have moved to the area, and that's why it's no.
Well, you don't want to live in a democratic city, I can tell you that.
Sitting on this board for 3 years, we're not gonna solve all of that. So
Right.
we can get back to the
Yeah.
meeting. What's our next step? Can we have like a presentation from them?
Yes.
And to have our
At
meeting
any
as
time.
soon as possible? Not to finalize the schedule, but finance would be. I think we could add Molly to try to handle it. So I think if we can contact the box, if it's built into our budget, or we have private funding paid as part of the budget. So built in the budget as part of the paid. Whatever, she's the expert on that.
So is anybody on the board here part of the finance or like cause that's another thing that we're gonna have to, be aware of, that I know the budget building process is already beginning. It's already starting. And I know it runs into, October, November, and stuff like that. I would like to, if this makes sense for everybody, kind of like maybe have Peter set up a time where Andrew or one of his representatives can come, present to the committee, and do that prior to the October board meeting. And then we can have some people come to the October board meeting and kind of talk about our recommendation or whatever, so that the board as a whole can maybe, and you guys actually tomorrow, Dave, Susan, Chayla, talk about, this meeting. I know that it'll be, but put it on public, record. Some people go to the board meeting and just say, we met as a committee, and we're going to have a presentation in the coming weeks, and we're hoping to, have a committee kind of report or like, hopefully, because I think we gotta take action. I think some of the things that happened as I go to a board meeting and make a presentation, and oftentimes we're gonna have to sit on this a little bit. And I think what Peter's saying, we're not trying to rush the process. It's been 2 years, like, since we started discussing this. It's been a year since the bond was voted down, yeah, we had our first meeting before COVID happened, exactly. So I don't think this is any like, oh my God, they're sneaking something in on us. We've been talking about this for over 2 years now. And so I think, like, sometimes I think we gotta, decide on something and take some action, at the board level, as far as that goes. Does anybody have anything else?
I would love to see it on the October.
Hey, just so you know, I did call Jim and leave a message for them. I talked to Leon. These meetings probably ought to be televised in minutes. If they're televised and people see what actually is being said.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so that's, oh, it is. Okay, good. Didn't know that. I do now. That's okay. They can hear me, I'm sure.
No, it was properly warned.
Perfect.
I
That's good.
follow.
Well, I wasn't getting my emails or anything, so finally, Good.
Dave.
Yeah, you can. Extracurricular are integral part of the students. That's what they actually important part. You learn lessons for wrestling.
All of them. And one coach said to me once, Tim didn't follow the rules, shouldn't have been playing a sport at the time, but the coach just kept letting him come back to practice and play actively. What's the deal? He said, listen, this kid is only still in school.
Well, I'll bring you back what Chad was saying, because when we first started school this year, we went out to the football field in the middle of the day. It was 3 or 4 times. Gym classes, PE classes, farm and sand nature, or something out there. But, I mean, but realistically, the fields.
As they should. I just said, as they should.
Right.
I'd like to add that. I mean, when I was going through high school years, it was the drive to be a student athlete, become professional, become well educated. And I went to the nicest, best schools in New England, Golden College. I got there on a football scholarship, and I was really a basketball player. And I became educated to become a veterinarian. And then I looked at our student body, and I looked around at these schools, Williams, Amherst, Middle, Wesley, Tufts, Bowdoin, Bates, Colby. I mean, their whole curriculums revolve around student athletics and students athletes and academics and athletics. And this has been connected for years. So it's very really is.
So I will, I'll have Peter reach out to Andrew. We'll pick a time that works. We'll probably be looking at early October, maybe first week of October, something in a couple weeks. We'll try to do it before Columbus Day. We'll have another meeting. I'll let the committee know, and I always let Amy know, and she'll put it in the she'll warn the meeting. And anybody's welcome to to come. And we'll have Andrew present, and then hopefully we'll have something to present at the October board meeting. And we're hoping for some action and some direction as far as that goes. So you guys will hear from Andrew. You'll be able to ask questions. Anybody's welcome to attend and ask questions. And then hopefully we'll have something to vote on or decide on in October. Does that make sense to you? All right. Thank you so much, Peter. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Meeting adjourned.